Hey folks, before we get rolling, make sure you follow SkyAlert USA to catch this and all our future videos. It really helps us out if you subscribe, give us a like, and, drop a comment down below. Thanks for supporting us. Welcome back to SkyAlert USA, your #1 source for the most accurate, up-to-date weather coverage across the United States and Canada. I'm your host, and today, Thursday, March 5th, 2026, we have an absolutely loaded weather broadcast for you. From a splitting polar vortex dropping Arctic cores directly over North America, to a brewing severe weather corridor threatening the south-central United States, to a major atmospheric transition that could reshape your entire spring season. This is one of the most complex weather setups we have seen in years. Stay with us through the end, because the next 3 days bring some truly significant weather hazards across multiple states and provinces. Let's get straight into it. Let's start with the big story, driving everything happening right now in the atmosphere above North America. The polar vortex has undergone a final split, with forecast models showing the split completing right around today, March 5th, 2026. One of the cores of the polar vortex is now moving over Canada and into the United States, while the other lobe has shifted towards Siberia. This is not just a regular cold snap, folks. This is a structural disruption at the very top of our atmosphere, in the stratosphere, that has downstream consequences for the weather you and your family will experience over the coming days and weeks. The disrupted core moving over Canada is bringing cold anomalies over the Prairie Provinces, the Great Lakes region, and parts of the northern United States, while the western states remain under warmer and drier conditions. Eastern Canada is seeing below-average temperatures and intermittent snow as the jet stream shifts southward. A lobe of the vortex is extending into eastern North America, influencing the cold, snow and ice into early March across the Great Lakes northeast and mid-Atlantic. The National Weather Service and AccuWeather meteorologists have both confirmed this is not a pattern that will vanish overnight. This matters enormously to our viewers in the Midwest, the Great Lakes states and the Northeast, because this is the engine fueling the cold air outbreaks, the winter storms and the wild temperature swings you are seeing play out this week. All right, let's break down what is happening across the country right now as of today, March 5th, the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic. A frontal system is bringing a wintry mix of snow, sleet and freezing rain, advancing northward into the northeast and eventually New England. On the colder side of this front, dangerous mixed precipitation is creating hazardous travel conditions. If you are in New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire or Maine, exercise extreme caution on roads. Black ice is a serious threat on bridges, overpasses and shaded roadways this morning. The Midwest and Ohio Valley, a frontal boundary and waves of low pressure are meandering over the region between the southern plains and the northeast, creating an active weather pattern for many locations. In cities like Chicago, Detroit, Cleveland and Columbus, expect a mix of rain and wintry precipitation. Monday morning rush hour travel, and now this week's commuter windows, are being disrupted by fresh snow and locally ice or freezing rain from Chicago and Detroit to New York City and Philadelphia. The Southern Plains and Gulf states. Here is where things start to get very different, very fast. While the north is locked in cold, the south is seeing a dramatic warm-up. Forecast highs are reaching 80 to 85 degrees across the south and 75 to 79 degrees in the Ohio and Tennessee valleys. Values that are 18 to 27 degrees above the early March climatological average, marking one of the first broad warm episodes of the 2026 spring transition. But that temperature contrast, Arctic cold to the north, record warmth to the south, is exactly the recipe for severe weather. And that is exactly what is developing right now. A risk of severe weather extends from Kirksville, Missouri to Abilene, Texas through March 6th. We are talking about the potential for damaging thunderstorms, large hail and localized tornado threats across portions of the southern plains today and tomorrow. Texas specifically. An active stretch of weather is bringing welcome rain back to Texas beginning this week, but we will also monitor for severe storm potential. The midweek severe risk includes storms with hail up to golf ball size and wind gusts of 60 to 70 miles per hour possible, particularly across North Texas, the DFW Metroplex, and portions of Central Texas. Storm bases appear mostly elevated, which reduces tornado potential somewhat. But large hail remains a very real threat for urban areas, including Dallas, Fort Worth, and Austin. Canada. The Prairie Provinces, including Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba, are experiencing cold anomalies directly linked to the polar vortex core now positioned overhead. Eastern Canada, including Ontario and Quebec, faces below-average temperatures and intermittent snow events. In British Columbia, however, conditions remain comparatively mild, as the Western Ridge keeps warmer Pacific air in place. Our Canadian viewers in the Prairie Provinces and the Great Lakes region of Ontario should prepare for continued cold and potentially hazardous road conditions through this weekend. Before we look ahead at the next 3 days, we have to acknowledge the devastating storm season that has already unfolded this year, because the storms of late January and early February are still affecting millions of Americans through ongoing disaster declarations, power restoration efforts, and community recovery. From January 23rd to January 27th, 2026, a massive winter storm, referred to informally as Winter Storm Fern, caused deadly and catastrophic ice and snow impacts across a very long stretch of land, from northern Mexico all the way to the southern and northeastern United States and into Canada. The numbers were staggering. Meteorologists from the National Weather Service estimated that around 300 million people were under winter precipitation and cold warnings or advisories. By mid-morning of January 26th, over half of the contiguous United States was covered by snow. January 25th became the worst day for flight cancellations since March 2020, with over 11,000 cancellations by end of day. More than 1 million customers across the United States lost electricity. Authorities warned of life-threatening cold that could last a week post-storm, especially in the northern plains and upper Midwest, where wind chill values were forecast to reach below -50 degrees Fahrenheit, temperatures cold enough to cause frostbite within minutes. The death toll climbed to at least 51 confirmed fatalities. Louisiana and Tennessee each reported 8 weather-related deaths. In Pittsburgh, nearly an inch of snow fell per hour, making it the second biggest 24-hour snow accumulation in 30 years, and Mayor Corey O'Connor declared a state of emergency after 37 snowplows broke down due to extreme cold. Federal disaster assistance was made available to states including Tennessee and Mississippi to supplement recovery efforts. 12 emergency declarations were approved, allowing states to request federal expertise and resources to help protect lives and property. The aftermath of that storm is a reminder that winter weather in 2026 has been no ordinary season. Now, let's look ahead at what the next 3 days hold across the United States and Canada. Friday, March 6th. A shortwave trough energy will eject through the northeast on Friday, promoting precipitation, including wintry weather, into a cold air mass that remains in place. For the northeast, expect residual snow, sleet, and icy conditions to linger into the morning hours before gradually tapering off through the afternoon. Temperatures remain well below seasonal averages from the Great Lakes to New England. In the south-central United States, Friday marks the beginning of a significant severe weather window. The Weather Prediction Center's 3 to 7 day hazard outlook shows potential for heavy rain between March 6th and 8th, extending from southeastern Texas to southern Missouri. Thunderstorms firing along the Gulf Coast and into the Mississippi Valley could produce locally heavy rainfall, flash flooding threats, and damaging wind gusts. If you live in Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, or Missouri, Friday is the day to have your severe weather plan ready. Saturday, March 7th. Broader troughing is forecast to dive through an unsettled west, with the southern stream, upper low, developing near northern Mexico by the weekend. This pattern will advect ample moisture and instability into the central U.S. in a corridor stuck between western U.S. troughing and southeastern upper ridging. This is a setup that could fuel a corridor of widespread thunderstorms. The National Weather Service Weather Prediction Center specifically warns of widespread thunderstorms with severe and flooding potential, with repeat focus over the south-central United States. Saturday has the potential to be the most impactful day of this 3-day period for viewers in Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, and into Tennessee. AccuWeather long-range experts note that the springtime weather pattern is likely to generate storms that track more slowly across the country, resulting in higher rainfall totals and elevating the risk of flooding. Slow-moving storms could produce heavier rain at times along the Gulf Coast, especially from Alabama to northern Florida. Meanwhile, across the northern tier of the US and into Canada, Saturday will see continued cold conditions. Monday lows will be in the 20s across the Midwest to the Ohio Valley, with mid-teens across the Great Lakes and the northeast United States. This pattern keeps winter firmly in place across the north, even as spring-like severe weather threatens the south simultaneously. Sunday, March 8th. By Sunday, the storm system affecting the south-central states will begin to push eastward, bringing severe weather and heavy rain threats toward the Tennessee Valley, the Mid-South, and potentially the Carolinas. Flash flooding will remain the primary concern as soils remain saturated from previous rainfall events. AccuWeather's spring outlook specifically warns that above historical average precipitation is expected across parts of Pennsylvania, Ohio, West Virginia, Indiana, Illinois, Iowa, Missouri, Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, Kansas and Oklahoma, as well as Minnesota and North Dakota. Sunday's storm push into the eastern portion of this corridor could serve as an early preview of the kind of flooding season forecasters have been warning about. Across the west, Sunday brings drier but still unsettled conditions, with mountain snow continuing in the Rockies and Sierras. Looking beyond this immediate 3-day window, there is a fascinating and potentially volatile transition underway in the large-scale climate pattern. The spring 2026 season is being shaped by a collapsing La Niña and a major shift in global weather patterns. The pattern will be defined by the rapid collapse of La Niña and the lingering effects of a late winter stratospheric warming event. Severe weather will once again be a major springtime hazard in 2026. Long-range forecasters are leaning toward fewer tornado reports compared to last year's exceptional count. But that does not mean the season will be quiet. Instead, severe thunderstorms are more likely to trigger damaging winds and torrential rain. The greatest risk for severe weather will focus from the Mississippi Valley into the Gulf states, especially during March and April. Flooding and damaging winds will be the main hazards this spring. The slower pace of the jet stream could lead to a higher frequency of upper-level low-pressure areas, producing heavier rainfall amounts, resulting in storms that are more disruptive and impactful. For Canada specifically, above-normal precipitation is expected for the northern United States and the Midwest over the spring season. And the combination of spring cold and increased precipitation will also impact early season snowfall potential, which can still surprise across the northern, central and eastern United States in spring. And here is a long-range headline that no one should overlook. Forecasts indicate the end of La Niña and a rapid transition into a new El Niño event as soon as summer 2026. This would be a historic and consequential shift in the global climate pattern, one that will reshape hurricane season, drought conditions, and precipitation patterns across North America for the coming year. That is your complete weather picture for today, March 5th, 2026, and the 3 days ahead. Let's quickly recap the most critical alerts. Wintry mix and ice threats continue across the northeast and mid-Atlantic today and into Friday. Severe weather, including large hail, damaging winds and flash flooding, threatens the south-central U.S. from Texas to Missouri through the weekend. Cold air and snow persist across the northern U.S. and Canada, linked to the splitting polar vortex. The spring severe weather season is ramping up. Flood and wind hazards are the dominant threats this year. If you found today's coverage helpful, please hit that like button, subscribe to SkyAlert USA, and turn on notifications so you never miss a critical weather alert. Drop your location in the comments and let us know what weather you are experiencing right now.